everyone! Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be addressing a controversy in the Yiddish language. Yiddish is a melting pot language, which is brimming with an array of foreign words, from Hungarian, Slovak, Czech, Ukrainian, Polish, Russian, Latin, Aramaic, and most of all, Hebrew. Depending on the dialect, you will hear these words being used in everyday Yiddish alongside the Germanic, Low German-based vocabulary. But are these words in essence real Yiddish? Or are they just place fillers for the German words, which should take their place in order for it to be proper Yiddish? Today, we'll be having a glance and a frank discussion about the makeup of the Yiddish language and loanwords. It's very common for languages to evolve and adopt words from different languages. Maybe words from a neighboring country, words from a country colonizing or once colonized a territory, or words from a popular television show watched in a foreign language. All languages have done this. For instance, the Danish word kartoffel or potato is used in Kalaallisut, the West dialect of Greenlandic, since Greenland is colonized by Denmark. The Swedish word stad, meaning city, is used in Finnish to refer to the capital city, since Finland was under Swedish rule for many years. And the German word stock, meaning floor or story, is used in Czech, since the language had considerable influence during the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Now, some might have an issue with the sheer amount of borrowed words in Yiddish. This argument claims that it has caused Yiddish to lose some of its authenticity. As a Germanic language, shouldn't the vast majority of its words be, well, Germanic? If given an option of using one of the following synonyms for family, which one would be considered more correct? The Hebrew-based mishpucha or the German-based Familie? The Germanic word for shoulders, Achseln, or the Polish Pleitze? This is a debate which long stands. As for myself, if someone were to ask me, how do you say a soul in Yiddish? I wouldn't blink twice before answering, neshama. But many would disagree, saying, but that's the Hebrew word. What's the Yiddish word? In order to understand this argument better, understanding the history of Yiddish is important. Here's a brief summary. Yiddish was formed in the 9th century in the Rhine Valley in Germany. It occurred when Jews first settled in Bavaria and couldn't speak the language of the land. Some say they spoke Romance languages, like Spanish and Italian, while others claim they had Aramaic as their native tongue. What was clear, though, is that they could understand ancient Hebrew from Torah learning and could read and write in the Hebrew alphabet only. Therefore, they began mixing the Hebrew they knew with the tongue of their new land, German, and hence Yiddish was born. As Jews migrated east, the Western dialect became extinct and the Eastern dialect was formed. This new dialect had assimilated many Slavic and Hungarian words, and even grammatical elements. There are even the odd historians who claim that Eastern Yiddish can be classified as a Slavic language, although that claim goes nowhere. Nowadays, all spoken Yiddish are branches of the Eastern Yiddish dialect. Here's my argument as to why Hebrew, Hungarian, Slavic, Latin, and Aramaic-based words used in Yiddish are just as much real Yiddish as German-based words. Since the original makeup of the language was founded on Jews trying to integrate as quickly and smoothly as possible into the new countries they were arriving to, having words from all these languages a part of the final language only makes sense. And besides, if only Low German words were allowed to be proper Yiddish, then we wouldn't be speaking Yiddish at all. We'd be speaking Low German, but with a nifty new writing system. It makes me think, who would use the brain capacity to pluck out all of the non-Germanic words from Yiddish as they're speaking and writing under the claim of speaking Yiddish correctly? There is a new angle to this argument, though, which only came to play in the 1950s after Yiddish-speaking Jews rebuilt their communities in the United States after the devastation of the Holocaust. And this is English, slowly trickling its way into Yiddish, washing away the German-based words only to have them replaced by English. Now, does my argument still stand that this is just how languages evolve? Is it only fair that if Hungarian and Ukrainian words were given courtesy into the Yiddish language, that English should too? Or is the assimilation of English into Yiddish endangering Yiddish further, since the younger generation is forgetting the proper Yiddish word for things? This new mingled Yiddish dialect, mostly spoken in New York, has even rendered itself a nickname, Yinglish. After losing over 5 million Yiddish speakers in the 1940s, can we afford to let this language slip away even further? Or is it even slipping? Maybe just evolving? Here's my concern with Yinglish. Between the 1200s and 1940s, Yiddish has remained a generally even mix of 75% Low German, 15% Hebrew, and 10% Aramaic, Hungarian, Slavic, and Latin. I'm sure it's shifted around a bit. After all, it's a huge time period. And the 1200s spelling and pronunciation is barely recognizable. But no new languages were introduced and drastically changed the main structure and vocabulary of the language since the birth of Eastern Yiddish and the split of Eastern Yiddish into its main known dialects. The radical introduction of English into Yiddish has caused words that have been in the Yiddish dictionary for hundreds of years to just fall away and be forgotten. I fear that the Yiddish we spoke back in Europe before the Holocaust will be gone in a couple years, and there won't be any remnants left other than the shaky bits and pieces of preschool level sentences. The only exception of where this would be necessary would be with words for newer technology. It seems that everyone has jumped on the bandwagon of using English words for technological stuff, so I'll give it a pass in this context. Here are some examples of how sentences would have been said in pre-Holocaust European Yiddish versus current-day New York Yiddish, only 2 generations of Yiddish speakers apart. Ich hab gedreivt mit der Car unzukommen zu der Airport. Ich hab gefahren mit dem Auto unzukommen zum Liftfeld. Ich try zu treffen, mein Franz red Kleid. Ich probier zu treffen, mein Franz rote Kleid. Numbers, colors, and other basic words seem to have been replaced by English. Now, many of you, my audience, are Yiddish speakers, Yiddish learners, or language enthusiasts. Given this information, what do you think of these arguments? Should no words other than Low German be accepted as true Yiddish? Are Hebrew, Hungarian, and Slavic words a legit part of the language? And if so, is English too? Is Yinglish just a natural evolution of what happens to languages? Please share all of your opinions in the comments and don't be shy to back up your claim. That's it for today! If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to my channel for more Yiddish content. Tack för idag, lehitraot, tschüss, and auf Wiedersehen!